This is our Disney News Hour, and many thanks for watching us with the news. I'm Shifar Raulakam. President Sahle-Work Zewde has arrived in Tanzania for an official working visit there. Upon arrival, the president and her accompanying delegation were received by Tanzanian President John Magufuli. The two presidents also exchanged gifts. Tanzania is among the leading countries in signing the Cooperative Framework Agreement, which outlines principles, rights, and obligations for cooperative management and development of the Nile Basin water resources. Tanzania President John Magufuli has pardoned over 1,700 Ethiopian prisoners jailed for entering the country illegally. The release of the inmates is a result of talks on Monday between the visiting Ethiopian counterpart Sahle-Work Zewde and President Magufuli. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has underscored the need to find ways to utilize the potential opportunities that Ethiopia is endowed with. It is to be recalled that the nation has been developing various tourism destination projects exploiting the available potential. The Unity, Shagar, and Entoto parks are among these projects developed in the capital. Koisha, Gorgora, and Wonchi tourism destinations located in southern Amhara and Oromia states, respectively, are also ongoing projects initiated by the Premier with similar objectives.
Policy Matters is a conversation platform which aims to provide reasoned analysis and context to the activities, reforms, and policies of the federal government of Ethiopia. Exploring various reforms the government is undertaking, the conversation platform aspires to enable nuanced and informed understanding.
Do we have what it takes to transition into a digital economy? What would you say are some of the initiatives the government has taken so that we're not left behind and that we are actually transitioning or transforming into a digital economy?
So for us as a country, moving to a digital economy and making ICT a priority sector, but also understanding the role that digital can have on our national priorities is a necessity, not only to have new sources of growth, but for survival.
How are institutions being empowered, be it at the Warada level, regional level, or federal level, to transform themselves to be digitally enabled institutions?
Mindset is important. We need to build a culture of innovation. We need to build a culture of experimentation. It's all about being able to work together. It's about coordination. It's about collaboration. It's really important to be able to break those silences because we need to have data flowing.
Now, Digital Economy Advisor to the Prime Minister Miriam Said says technology is more and more transforming the sector by increasing productivity. She also stated that the African continent should exploit the fourth industrial revolution to register economic growth. Goshu Melissa presents the story as follows.
The rapid spread of digital economy is transforming many economic and social activities. The cashless transaction and others make life easier. In a conversation platform, Policy Matters at the Office of Prime Minister of Ethiopia, the Digital Economy Advisor said technology is more and more transforming sector.
Digital economies are transforming the world, the way we live, the way we work, the way we relate to each other, and even more so this year with the pandemic. We had to quickly readapt to teleworking, to holding conferences online, meetings online. In addition, technology is more and more transforming sectors. The fact that we have a vaccine today for COVID-19 is the result of tremendous advancement in technology, and particularly around nanotechnologies. In agriculture, the use of the Internet of Things, these little chips that have the ability to actually measure rainfall, temperature, nutrient levels, is boosting productivity.
She articulated that the African continent should not miss the fourth industrial revolution like the previous one, urging this generation to exploit the digital economy to cope up with the rest of the world and register economic growth.
As a continent, I believe we've missed the first and the second industrial revolution, and maybe to a certain extent the third one, which was the digital revolution where the internet and computers were introduced. The fourth industrial revolution we can't afford to miss. It provides too many opportunities to resolve pressing issues. And all that with the power of data. We often hear say that data is the new gold. Data has become as important as human and financial resources.
She reiterated that Ethiopia has tremendous potential to digital economy, adding failure in transition to the digital economy will widen the gap between poor and rich.
Moving to a digital economy and making ICT a priority sector, but also understanding the role that digital can have on our national priorities is a necessity, not only to have new sources of growth, but for survival. The other huge opportunity we have in Ethiopia is that 60 to 70% of our population is youth, and we have bright minds. All these are signs that we as a country have tremendous potential. So this is a critical moment. Failure in transitioning to a digital economy will really widen the gap between poor and rich.
The government's commitment to digitize the economy is appreciated, but more is required, it was disclosed.
Now, Ethiopia is set to celebrate the victory of Adwa on March the 1st. The victory of Adwa, which is the first of its kind in human race, is historical at the time of colonialism, when Ethiopians defeated Italian invaders in just a day. History has shown that the defeat of the invading forces in Ethiopia is the struggle for the liberation of the people from colonialism. The following report tells us that the presence of all Ethiopians seemed to be the same. Kasaun Chane presents the story as follows.
On the first day of March 125 years ago, traditional warriors, farmers and pastoralists, as well as women, defeated a well-armed Italian army in the northern town of Adwa in Ethiopia. The outcome of this battle ensured Ethiopia's independence, making it the only African country never to be colonized. Adwa turned Ethiopia into a symbol of freedom for black people globally. Adwa still stands as a witness to what ordinary Africans can do when they come together. The Ethiopian army's victory checked Italy's attempt to build an empire in Africa. The victory had further significance for being the first crushing defeat of a European power by African forces during the colonial era.
In the eyes of the Europeans, the victory of Adwa had created very high frustration. They are not human beings, and where they had a belief to make Africans their property, stood together and won Italy. It had brought about very great imaginations among Ethiopians. This is the reason why it is being said that Adwa victory ought to be celebrated where there are black people. It is a victory that ought to be celebrated in the whole of Africa and in a place the black Africans live. It is a victory which upsides down the superiority complex by the white over the black people. Adwa turned Ethiopia into the symbol of redemption and freedom for black people.
The victory of Adwa provides lively lessons to generations to come.
The Italian forces had entered in the north of Ethiopia in Tigray, but many of Ethiopians participated, being stood together, coming from every segment of the country. As we celebrate Adwa, we should also seize this opportunity to investigate many aspects, that famous chapter and numerous revelations. So, the victory of Adwa quickly became the pride and inspiration of the subjugated people of the world and a beacon of hope for all those who resisted any form of domination of a people over others. Indeed, Adwa changed perspectives and history was never to be the same as in the pre-Adwa days for Ethiopians and of the people of African origin. Adwa is a common aim and a common plan.
This is a victory where almost all Ethiopians, being hand in glove and gathered from the north, south, east and west, had participated brilliantly. Therefore, it is the victory of Ethiopia. This great victory has been a source of inspiration for struggles for freedom throughout the Pan-African world. Adwa has important lessons for Africans in their resistance against new forms of oppression at the time. We united should say Ethiopia, together with being Ethiopians, You must protect this country, and it is to say that we must safeguard the nation brilliantly.
The Battle of Adwa, 1st March 1896, was a stunning victory for Ethiopia, but wrought on a disaster for Italy. Adwa, the story of Africans seeing through their freedom, played out against a background of almost unrelenting European expansion into Africa. The success of Ethiopia's forces assured that Ethiopia would be the only African country successfully to resist European colonization.
Now moving on, Tigray State Interim Administration announces that it has established a Regional Emergency Response and Humanitarian Assistance Center. It is noted that it will enable a comprehensive response to the activities being carried out to rehabilitate the region.
The main task is to mobilize our resources properly and to deliver assistance without repetition, just to be fair. For instance, related to food supplies, as we have mentioned before, we observed our capacity and sequenced places which needed to be prioritized. Based on that and solving our problems in logistics, we tried to deliver humanitarian assistance as much as we could. So far we have done that for about 1 million people.
The center will help restore social activities in the region, in addition to accelerating and strengthening its humanitarian assistance.
Related to education, we are following the issues of returning students to school and making the schools ready to teach in order to start the learning and teaching process again. Health took the top priority here, and we are working on enabling the healthcare centers to provide service. We also are working to solve salary-related problems in the health sector. Similarly, we broadly are working on water supply and agricultural services.
Part of the humanitarian assistance is identifying areas that have not yet been reached.
Unreachable pocket area is the right terminology. For example, in a place called Europe, we already have sent assistance, which we can say that is sufficient. We also are doing our best to deliver assistance in a shorter period of time by importing from other countries and distributing to places which are in need. In order to facilitate these efforts and to rehabilitate the region, the ECC establishment and all stakes from the federal government to the interim administration are working jointly.
Now, Professor Hirut Woldemariam is one of the highly ranked 5 shortlisted candidates for African Union Commissioner of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation. In an exclusive interview with ETV English, she has voiced her determination and unswerving commitments to making sure that Africa gets access to fair and relevant education across the continent. And as such, one of her top priorities will be setting up a Pan-African scholarship for brilliant African boys and girls. Take a listen.
Pan-African scholarship institutions where bright African boys and girls from the various corners of the continent come together, assemble to receive truly African education for the benefit of Africa, and do research on African issues so that we can produce the future of African scientists, the future of the next generation of African leaders and African innovators and African craftsmen and women.
Professor Hirut also believes that African students should get uniform access to education throughout the continent and freely learn and work wherever they want, and she will work for that.
I will call for a bold curriculum reform, actually, if I get elected, to make sure that the curriculum we have across the continent fits very well with the 21st century job market, the needs and demands of the continent. We have to make sure that it will take us to the destination we want to get. Yeah. And the other one is, I will, if I get elected, I will work toward this revitalization of African universities and African schools. Revitalization and reforming and enhancing them. Number one, by making sure that we have the ecosystem of education, science, technology, innovation, ecosystem, it should involve all relevant stakeholders, the private sector, the industry, civic societies, the community should take part, in the education and training system. And the ecosystem should be changed, should be balanced to accommodate all relevant stakeholders and to do things together, collaboratively. That way, we'll have quality education and training, and we'll have relevant graduates for the economy and job market.